Well, I don't want to alarm anyone, but we're top of the Premier League. Hopefully we'll stay there because the Waine Train's back. It should help us, surely. Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 22 of the Waine Train here on Sean Does FM with Plymouth Argyle. I hope you're doing well and come up today either side of transfer deadline day where we could sign a big name on a free transfer. We take on Chelsea at our home ground these days in Ashton Gate, and off the back of deadline day and an international break we then take on Brighton, both those teams just behind us in the top four on the Premier League table. So if you're looking forward to all that coming up in today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But in yesterday's episode, we played our first game of the season against Leeds United, and before then, we did recap what we did in the transfer window. So if you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. Since then, we've played two more games, one of those in the Premier League against Fulham. Our first game at our new home stadium for this season, and thankfully we got off to a brilliant start right from the kickoff here. Morgan Whittaker finds some space down that right-hand side and squares it for Nikola Iliev. He picks up his first goal in a competitive game playing up front for us at Plymouth Argyle, and shortly off the back of that, he puts the ball here into the mixer. Williams heads that one back to Jacob Graves, who takes on a shot. It takes a wicked deflection off Paulinho. It's an own goal scored there from Fulham to make it 2-0 in our favour. A few minutes shy of half-time, Kesler Hayden puts that one away in the top left corner yet again from a Morgan Whittaker assist. And just before half-time, Pizarro here is on the ball, squares this one. It comes off Diop. It is yet another own goal scored there by Fulham, and we pick up a 4-0 win. To be fair, overall the stats from this game actually quite even, but thankfully we had quite a high XG and did get helped out by those own goals, which did inflate that scoreline a little bit more than what it probably deserved to be. I think a 2-0 there would have been a fair result, but thankfully we pick up a comprehensive 4-0 win. That goal difference is the reason we are on top of the Premier League, and off the back of that, we then took on Bolton in the second round of the Carabao Cup. Put out a pretty heavily rotated team for this game as well, and thankfully, despite the fact that we were away from home, we got off to a good start. Callum right out left squares that one for Pizarro and puts that one home, quite similar to the goal that Iliev scored previously against Fulham. It took us a fair while to get our second goal in this game, but thankfully some bench impact did help. Farias plays that one back to Adam Randall, who drills that one home, and shortly off the back of that, it's the first competitive goal of the season for the Waine Train coming back from injury. He gets on the end of this ball yet again from Salawi, puts it away top left corner, coming on for Pizarro at half-time, seeing as he was only recommended for 45 minutes. That's still an issue going into the first game of today's episode, where we do take on Chelsea. So unfortunately, the Waine Train can't quite start yet, but thankfully pick up a 3-0 win. Yet again, not that dominant stats-wise, but pick up what I felt like was a little bit of a flattering scoreline, albeit up until the 85-minute mark, it did feel like we should have got a second goal at some stage during that game. So the 3-0 we will take. So far, 3 wins, 3 clean sheets, and things going very well for us here at Plymouth Argyle, top of the Premier League, albeit just on goal differential. That could change in today's episode as we take on two pretty good teams who have also won all their games in the league so far this season in Brighton and Chelsea. And we do also have coming up, possibly in tomorrow's episode, because I've got a busy day coming up tomorrow, so we might not get too far off the back of today's episode. We're through that third round of the EFL Cup, and we take on Leicester, of course, back up in the Premier League for the first time since we have started the save. But first up today, we are taking on Chelsea, as mentioned, with a few more players back from injuries. Both our New Zealanders and Libero Kakache and Ben Waine are back, albeit the Waine Train isn't quite on a green heart and is only recommended for 60 minutes of football, hopefully off the back of deadline day and an international break where it should get a bit of football for the national team, as should Kakache. They'll be back in time for that Brighton game. Also good Johnson, he is still injured, but not too far away, might make his way onto the bench for that second game. Here we do take on Brighton, so still a few injuries that we are dealing with, but hopefully we can do a decent job here as we do take on Chelsea. So far, they've been a little bit interesting with their form this season. They got thrashed by Man City in the Community Shield, and before then got beaten by Inter in the Club World Cup quarterfinal, so that does get included on their recent form. So 2 red dots there, but off the back of that, a narrow win against Fulham then a 3-1 win over West Ham. To be fair, based on that Fulham result, we might be in with a sneaky chance in this game, but when we're taking these guys on so far in the save, the home team has always suffered defeat, albeit big asterisks on that second one last season. That was the game where Connor Hazard started in goal. He got injured straight off the back of that game when Mike Cooper got injured, so we had to bring on Agyakum, and our goalkeeping wasn't too good in that game, but before then, we did beat them in the Carabao Cup and also in the Premier League at Stamford Bridge. This one is at Ashton Gate, so hopefully not quite a home game. We can pick up a good result here and stay on top potentially of the Premier League table. And in terms of our team for this first game of today's episode, as mentioned, just that one change, the Waine Train. He comes onto the bench. That means that young Herbie Honour is down playing for the under-18s, but that's the only change, of course. If he wasn't a full green heart and could last more than an hour, he'd probably be starting, but hopefully that will be the case for that Brighton game, and we'll see how we get on here against the Chelsea team, who have been big spenders in the transfer window. They've picked up some quite interesting players the last couple of seasons of the save. They picked up an Iranian striker the first season before we took them on in the Carabao Cup, and last season they had Henrik Mkhitaryan score against us in that 5-1 loss that we did suffer at Home Park, but this time at Ashton Gate. Of course, with Home Park being under renovations for this season, hopefully that's just enough of a change for us to think this is an away game and we can pick up a win against Chelsea, a team who so far our record against, as you saw before, is pretty good against, apart from that loss that we did suffer with the goalkeeping issues that we did have late last year in game. But the teams make their way out onto the field and hopefully we can pick up a good result here, make it free from free to start the Premier League season. To be fair, this is our toughest test to date. If we can win this one, this might give us a good indication that we might be able to sneak our way into Europe for next season of this save. Hopefully we can do that, just make a little bit of an improvement that we need to finish inside a European spot for next season. Now Iliev with an early corner tries to put that one far post. Chilwell, I think that was, gets his head on the end of it. We put it back in there through Sarawi, but unfortunately Jacob Graves misses a target there from very close range. That was a big chance. I think there that Pillion goal, I think it is these days, for Chelsea would have been beaten by that effort if it just hit the target, but unfortunately just off, shortly off the back of that, and Reece James picking up a yellow. It's now Simon Som who picks one up, but so far, definitely the team here who are on the front foot, but unfortunately, just one shot on target. Hopefully that will change before half-time, because so far, it does feel like we've been the team who have been better in this game. Interesting to see that Fulham getting bashed yet again, so they might be a team who will be going down to the Championship come the end of the season, but eventually a second highlight yet again. It does come from our corner. Now Whittaker on the ball, but a poor pass back there, and Pedro can win that one back for Chelsea, and a chance for them to do something here on the counter-attack. Conor Gallagher makes his way forward down that right-hand side. Hopefully that poor pass from Whittaker doesn't prove too costly. He now finds Luvumbo down that right-hand side, not a name that I'm familiar with, but Chelsea knock it around on the edge of the box. Enzo Fernandez starts to cut inside. Thankfully, that shot, though, a little bit weak, and Luis Jr. comes up with a good save so far, yet to concede a goal this season, and we make it into halftime, locked up at 0-0, both teams with a decent chance that we did see from highlights, but overall flow of that game does feel like we're the team who are more likely to score. Hopefully we can do that early in the second half. We'll just make one change here at halftime. Adam Randall, he can come on for Som on that yellow card. Both our strikers on a 6.5. I do think Pizarro will drop down to a red heart at some stage, seeing as he has had to play so far all of our games, unlike most players in this team who did get a rest for that Bolton game. So the Waine Train should come on the field at some stage during the second half. As you can see, Pizarro does look like soon he will drop down to a deep red, but early stages of the second half. Bischoff there with a free kick. Unfortunately, can't quite put that one top right corner, bit too far out, and Lucas Perry can make a decent save. But so far, those slight changes we did make to our tactic going to this season do seem to be working. Hopefully that will prove the case again here in the second half as we do take on this Chelsea team from Ashton Gate, our home stadium for this season. Now we play that ball down our left-hand side. Interesting challenge here on Bischoff before he got the ball. That's a bit debatable. Now Conor Gallagher gets in behind, but thankfully he's Conor Gallagher. He pulls that one wide and we are safe. So still 0-0, but Chelsea now arguing a few highlights in their favour, and now they look to play out from the back. A couple of their players there are on yellow cards, but good work that time from Bischoff to win that ball back for us. Now it played out to Reece Williams, and Randall will pump this one deep, and somehow both of the defenders missed that one. Big chance for Nikola Iliev. He'll put that one away off the back of the goal he scored early to open the scoring against Fulham. Right off the back of that, Pizarro's down to a red hard. Let's get the Waine Train on. But to be fair, Pizarro had an impact on that, was going to challenge for the ball. Both defenders went in on him and didn't get there. It just left Iliev in a ton of space, and he drills that one home past Perry in the bottom right corner. Randall here, I think, picks up the assist. Just a poor read there from Chalobah, and Colwell came in to help out. Not a good decision, and Nikola Iliev will make it 1-0 here, 10 minutes inside of the second half. The Waine Train also on the field. Hopefully that will help us out. Now a free kick in our favour. Salawi is on the ball down that right-hand side, does his man there, and Enzo Fernandez, and will beat Perry from a tight angle. And Osami Salawi, who for some reason hasn't been picked for the Norwegian national team, maybe that's the reason they struggle to make World Cups, because they just don't select players very well. But he makes it 2-0 in quick-fire fashion, and we continue from a decent first half stats-wise and actually put the ball in the back of the net a couple of times, and now grab a cushion goal shortly off the back of that opener through Nikola Iliev. So thankfully, a very good start to the second half. Hopefully, we can hold on here and pick up 3 points. And if we can do that, we might be in with a good chance of European football for next season. Free kick there from Pedro Goncalves, but thankfully, decent save there from Louis Jr. And before hopefully this corner can happen, Osama Salawi is down to a red hard. Callum Wright, who to be fair, played very well in that cup game against Bolton. He can come on with just under a half hour left and hopefully have an impact on this game. Unfortunately, this corner, it will still take place. Reece James will put this one towards the far post, but thankfully Louis Jr. will come out and claim that. That should hopefully be the highlight, albeit looks like it will continue. Might be a chance for us here to do something on the counter-attack. We're going to pump it deep. Will they mess up in defence? They don't, but the highlight does end. Still 2-0, about to make our way to the last 20 minutes of this game. Now, Bischoff down to a red heart. Nothing doing off the back of that yet. We'll just wait to make a sub. Maybe we should have made it sooner, because Chalobah has put that one in the back of net from a far post corner, although this is our last stoppage. So I think we might just wait here until someone else does go down to a red heart. So far, no one else out there doing that badly of the players who did start this game. So we'll just continue and see the replay of that goal that Chelsea get back there from that far post corner. Lavumbo puts it into the mixer. For some reason there, Reece Williams was behind his man, so obviously that's not good defensive work. They make it 2-1 off the back of that. We will press Goncalves and we'll click that button again, but hopefully we don't blow this lead and can still pick up 3 points. Now a corner in our favour down the other end. Now Whitaker wins that one. Randall takes a shot. It gets blocked. Then it falls to Callum Wright off the bench. Blast that one home top left corner. There is an offside check here. I'm not too sure why. It might be one of our strikers who snuck offside and got in the way of the goalkeeper, but it was a wonderful strike from Callum Wright, and thankfully the goal will stand and we get our 2-goal cushion back right off the back of them grabbing a goal back from that corner. Callum Wright off the back of that block shot from Adam Randall rockets that one top left corner. Iliev would have been the player who did impact that if it was offside. Thankfully that was not the case, and we make it 3-1 off the back of that. We've got 2 players now down to red hearts. Make our last couple of subs. John Buckley can come on for the biscuit in Tom Bischoff, and also Tony Springett can come on for Morgan Worker down that right-hand side, playing well. But I think in this case, we want to freshen up the midfield and the defence a bit more than our strikers and try and hold on here to this 3-1 lead in the game. At the moment, we are slightly on top and thankfully putting the ball in the back of the net with this higher tempo. Now making our way to the last 10 minutes, and it might be time for us here just a little bit earlier than usual to time waste, just to hopefully make sure that Chelsea don't get a chance to find a way back into this game. But this has been a pretty good performance, like most we've put out so far this season, and it looks like the changes that we've made to this tactic and going to a 4-2-4 and also telling our defenders to not step up are helping us defensively for the most part. Chelsea did grab a goal there from a set piece, but thankfully we bounced back immediately through Callum Ryan. Before then, a quick fire double in the second half to Nikola Iliev and to Osama Salawi, and we pick up a 3-1 win there at Ashton Gate. So a good start to life here for this new season at Plymouth Argyle. Certainly a better start than we had last season, and it does mean that we should stay on top of the Premier League going into our second game of today's episode off the back of transfer deadline day, where we take on Brighton. It'll be interesting to see what they've done on this match day, as they were also unbeaten going in to that game, but that is a very good result. Just checking there, and Brighton yet to place. They could catch us up, as could Liverpool or Brentford, but for now, we're on top of the Premier League off the back of a 3-1 win at home over Chelsea. So we continue our brilliant start to this new season here at Plymouth Argyle with that 3-1 win over Chelsea. Also played a friendly off the back of transfer deadline day just to keep some players who weren't on international duty fit and ready for when they are needed, probably potentially in that Carabao Cup game when we do take on Leicester. Picked up a 9-0 win over a bunch of local farmers or fishermen or whatever the case is over in Plymouth. But we did do some business on transfer deadline day. We did bring someone in, also loaning a couple of players out, including Richard Elise. He might be off to Newport County. That's probably a sign of the position that we have strengthened in on transfer deadline day. We did get rid of Louis Brown, another promising player. He just made his way up from the under-18s, being 19 years old, wasn't going to play too much for us as a centre-back, so he's gone out on loan to MK Dons. So a couple less defensive options, albeit players who current ability-wise probably aren't up for life in the Premier League, but we did add an extra right-back option. To be fair, attribute-wise, he should be the best of them that we have here at the moment, albeit still got that good link between Kessler-Hayden and Whittaker down that right-hand side. But on a free transfer, we've picked up Serginho Dest, having been let go from Barcelona. We did see that Leon were after him, and I did think, seeing as I was looking for a right-back improvement in the off-season, unfortunately didn't quite have the transfer funds to do it, but we could sign this guy with only 33k a week as a squad player. To be fair, should really be starting out on that right-hand side, but certainly a very good bench option who can cover both right-back and left-back, and also, if we really need him to, do a job at attacking left and attacking right wing as well. But he is a good pickup for us, the American international, not on an ESC, which is quite useful, unlike someone like Libakakache, who we're probably going to have to let go of, unfortunately, in January, but we pick him up on a free transfer. And considering that Barca spent 19 million on him a couple of years ago in real life, that's a pretty good bit of business for us here at Plymouth Argyle, already valued just below 20 million. I think that's a good deal, quite a quick player, and should be a good replacement or improvement on Kessler-Hayden. Down that right-hand side does mean that Ethan Laird might now be in a bit of a tricky spot in our squad, but that's a good improvement, especially on a free transfer. So a fairly big name there coming in on deadline day in Serginho Dest. And also injury-wise, going to the second game of today's episode, we have got Good Johnson back, but unfortunately there is one more injury, and it does impact our first choice 11 because Reece Williams has twisted his ankle in training. He is out for 12 days to 3 weeks, so it does mean we're a little bit lighter in terms of our centre-back options, and because of that, we are shuffling our bench up a little bit as we're about to take on Brighton. That is because Sebastian Hausner will now start where Reece Williams usually would, so that does mean we don't have that centre-back who can cover right back on the bench because Lewis Gibson is our only other proper option that we do have. So because of that, Serginho Dest makes his way straight onto the bench, and also the Waine Train, he is back. A little bit harsh on Pizarro, who has actually found a good little patch of form in those last couple of games, but he's on the bench, and Good Johnson back as well. That does mean Facundo Farias is now on the bench over Cullen Wright as that left wing option, as was the plan come the start of the season that we did round up in yesterday's episode. But next up, we do take on a Brighton team who have certainly bounced back from that poor finish they had to the season at the end of last year, where they were just struggling to stay up a little bit. Thankfully, the three bottom teams were pretty awful, but they did finish well down near the bottom of the table, despite the fact that early on they were in a European spot, and so far they have picked up 3 wins, 2 in the Premier League, 1 in the EFL Cup just over Stoke before. Surprisingly, they lost to Brentford, albeit Brentford are one of the other unbeaten teams early stages of the Premier League season. Unfortunately, these days we have dropped down to second because of goal differential, and also Liverpool have already played their game on this match day, and they picked up a 2-0 win over Manchester City. But a chance for us here to potentially go back on top of the Premier League table if we can beat this Brighton team, albeit this one being away from home could be a little bit tricky. But hopefully, if we can win this game as well off the back of winning all our games in the first month, which did lead to us winning the Manager of the Month in August, that should put us in a very strong position to challenge for Europe this season at least, and also should make sure, if that's not already the case, that we're going to be nowhere near a relegation battle this season, which was what the board were expecting as well as that season preview when they did have us down in 19th. I believe these days we've shifted up to 18th off the back of that signing of Serginho Dest. I believe that does mean that alongside Sunderland, it is Nottingham Forest who are ranked below us in terms of that season preview. Now, just checking there, that I got my bench right, because just saw something pop up there briefly, and now I'm a bit concerned that I stuffed my bench up for this game. We'll just go into this and make sure that was not the case. It might just be the fact I'm not used to having Facundo Farias as a left wing option. So we'll just see what our team looks like, and indeed it is how it's supposed to. So just got freaked out there before that pre-match interview, but hopefully we can continue this good start to the season, especially with the Waine Train back, and we can pick up a win over Brighton, the team we've beaten in our last 2 outings, both times in the Premier League. Of course, the first time we played them last season, we got bumped by them in our first game in the Carabao Cup. But an early highlight here, and Brighton, they are on the attack. Pelistri down the right-hand side, just takes his time here on the ball, tries to play that one over the top. We hit it clear, but not very well, and now Lamptey on the ball, plays that for João Gomez somehow. It finds some space in behind. We absolutely have to scramble there at the back, but thankfully, Kesler Hayden does just calm things down, plays that out to Salawi, and we keep it at 0-0 early, and shortly off the back of that, there is a throw in our favour, and thankfully the biscuit there and Bischoff can find Graves in a little bit of space. Now Gutierrez will try and play a ball over the top, but that's a poor option from him, and now a chance here for Brighton yet again to do something down that right-hand side through Pelistri. They play that one back to Anderson Talisca. It somehow beats Luis Jr., and that might be because it's an own goal. It's come off the back of Jacob Graves, so I guess that one was going wide, but Jacob Graves has put in the back of his own net, very much like what Fulham did in that game we showed you earlier, and that's not an ideal start. Anderson Talisca, he's proven quite a problem maker for us the past couple of times that we have taken on Brighton, and that's the case yet again. We go 1-0 down early. Hopefully that own goal doesn't prove too costly. And shortly off the back of that, we do have a free kick in our favour. Gutierrez this time, thankfully, does find a teammate in Jacob Graves. He's back on the ball, tries to play that one over the top, but yet again, it's a poor pass, and Lamptey can get that one back for Brighton, albeit we do eventually win the ball back. No, we don't, because Tadic gets that one back for the home team. Now Talisca, who was pretty much the goal scorer for that first one on the ball, but that's a poor bit of play there at the back, and Iliev gets in behind, yet again chips that one over Verbruggen in goal, and we make it 1-1 nice and early off the back of conceding that goal. Good work there from Salawi to get the ball back for us. It went back to Webster, just took far too long on the ball. Our left winger gets it, and then Iliev with a bit more pace gets on the ball and just looks to chip that one over Verbruggen a little bit, and thankfully that's what he did, and it is 1-1 nice and early in this game, so thankfully not behind for too long off the back of that own goal. And hopefully we can now find a way to get on top in this game just a little bit more, because so far Brighton definitely the team who have been on the front foot. In fact, so far that's our only shot of the game. Thankfully we put it away. Now Anderson Talisca yet again proves to be a real pest from that corner, but thankfully that one goes just over the bar. So still 1-1 coming about halfway through this first half, as Brighton continue to put the pressure on us, and yet again a corner here in their favour again. Talisca at the near post. He's a player who might need a little bit of special attention, but yet again, it just goes over, so it's still 1-1, but Brighton at the moment can feel a bit hard done by not to be leading in this game, despite the fact that the goal they scored was an own goal, albeit I'm pretty sure that Talisca shot might have made its way into the back of the net, albeit maybe from the post, but Jacob Graves made sure it was not needed, and just as we try and get Gutierrez there to ease off tackles, a highlight starts, and this is concerning because this year on FM24, the highlights that come off the back of these changes can be pretty lethal. It's definitely something that's different from previous years when the highlights were usually pointless. Pelistri plays this one to Pascal Gross. It takes a deflection yet again. Sebastian Helsner with an own goal. I think that one was definitely going wide, but nothing that Junior could do despite the fact he pulled out a pretty good attempted save. And we've scored 2 own goals in the first half, as well as that Nikola Iliev one. So we are down 2-1 here, and this might be our first loss of the season, definitely getting some payback from that Fulham game where we got 2 own goals scored for us. This time it's against us now. Salawi picks up a yellow card. I think we'll just wait till half time off the back of what happened before. Now Lewis Dunk with an overhead kick, and he just teleports quicker than Usain Bolt. What on earth is happening here for him? That was insane. Lewis Dunk tries to score an overhead kick, then he goes all alien-like. I know I have seen some other creators have some weird alien-type stuff happening with their stadiums. Maybe need to get that next update for the game out pretty quickly. That was interesting, but a couple of players here struggling at halftime as we are 2-1 down. Tony Springett can come on for Morgan Whittaker and also Farius for Solawi, both those players struggling. And of course, Sarawi on that yellow card. Also, Serginho Dest, he can make his first team debut coming on for Miguel Gutierrez. Also on a yellow card, and to be fair, he played quite a few poor passes in that first half. But we'll tell the guys, just not really positive enough in this first half, and hopefully can do a bit more here, because as you can see, stats-wise, Brighton definitely deserve to be in front, just not too sure about the manner in which they've done it so far with the own goals. But thankfully, first highlight here of the second half is in our favour, and our new signing in Serginho Dest plays that one to Tom Bischoff. He tries to duck that one over the goalkeeper in Verbruggen, and he will do it, the biscuit. He will break the hearts there of Brighton and make it 2-2 here, and thankfully we are back in this game, still scoring goals for ourselves at the right end of the field, not just for Brighton, but Serginho Dest will pick up an assist with one of his first touches of a football in the Premier League. That shot might have actually taken a deflection there off a Brighton defender, to be fair, off the back of our own goals. I think we deserve that. 2-2 nice and early in the second half, to be fair, Brighton. Now they can feel really hard done by, as we've only had 3 shots in this game, all on target, but thankfully we've scored 2 of them, and it's now 2-2, but now just coming into the last half hour of this game, and Brighton do have a free kick. Thankfully, Helsner will deal with that danger. We're going to leave both our centre-backs out there for now, just because I think those own goals are definitely impacting those poor ratings. We try and put some good pressure there on Brighton, but can't quite win the ball back, but unfortunately, poor pass there. I think that might have been from Serginho Dest. Does mean that Brighton do get that ball back. Our left-backs today not playing very smartly with the ball at their feet, and Brereton Diaz is on for Brighton. Why on earth would Brighton sign Ben Brereton Diaz? That's a Chilean striker, and we've got a Chilean striker in the Waine Train, to be fair. Might need a rest soon, coming back from injury, but now Talisca does get in behind it, comes off the post. It's a poor clearance from Kessler Hayden. Thankfully, we deal with the danger yet again a couple of times now. We've just been a little bit iffy, nearly conceding goals, but the Waine Train on 6.4. Let's make it a Chile versus Chile battle up front. Damian Pizarro can come on for the Waine Train. Of course, probably a bit bitter, having started most games this season. The Waine Train still coming back from injury, struggling a little bit. Probably not the worst idea to save him up for our next game in the league, which is quite a big one, where we do take on Liverpool, and shortly off the back of that, now it's Bischoff the biscuit and goal scorer down to a red heart. John Buckley can come on for him as we make our way into the last 20 minutes of this game, and right off the back of that last sub, it is a throw in here for Brighton. They rather fortunately get the ball back there through a Stupinan. Now gross for Tadic. Now it is Brereton Diaz with a shot, but thankfully that one comes off the post. Brighton absolutely peppering us in this game, but so far their goals have been scored by us. It is still 2-2. Now down the other end, a corner in our favour, but unfortunately looking for Som there, I think it was, at the far post, and Verbruggen will come out and claim that one. And let's see what happens here as we make our way into the last 15 minutes of this game. To be fair, the way the stats have gone in this game, I think I'll take a draw, but Brighton are on the ball. But good work there from Tony Springett. Now a chance for us to do something on the counter-attack, but unfortunately loose touch, and Matoma is away down that left-hand side. Hopefully Springett can get in the way he does, clears that one, but unfortunately can't quite link up with our Chilean, who hopefully will outdo their Chilean in Pizarro. Now Tadic finds some space down that right-hand side, squares this one for Talisca, takes on a shot. Luis Jr. with a really weird attempted save there off the back of having a pretty good game against Chelsea. That one beats him, and Anderson Talisca, he will score a goal. To be fair, could have had one earlier if not for a deflection from Jacob Graves. That makes it 3-2. Some really weird animations going on in this game. I'm not too sure if that one's nutmegged our defender in Som or also taken a deflection off him, but that time the shot was already on target. But Brighton are back in front. Stats-wise, they probably deserve to be. But does seem to be some weird stuff going on in this game. And now Brighton with another free kick. And now Estupinan, he starts to make his way forward right onto the edge of the box on that left-hand side. Some short passing. João Gomez picks out Talisca. That's an absolute stunner. He picks up his second of the game, unlucky not to have a hat-trick. It's 4-2. Off the back of that, I think we need to go a bit more attacking with our player roles to hopefully try and turn this around. So both our wing-backs on attack, and also Som can go on to support, and as well as that Pizarro on to attack. Unfortunately, bringing on the Chilean striker hasn't had too good an impact, albeit not sure we can blame him for these goals scored by Anderson Talisca, but that makes it 4-2. That goal probably the least dodgy of all of them so far today in this game, because it's been a bit of a funny one, but nothing that Louis Jr. can do about that one. He picks up a double, as I said, unlucky not to have a hat-trick. 4-2. We need a big turnaround here in these last 10 minutes to try and get this one back to all square. And now it's a free kick here for Brighton, and we'll see who's taking this one. They're taking their time over it as well, which is a bit of a concern as someone makes their way onto the field for Matoma, who is going off. And that player as well, in Ndombele, finds a bit of space, but Tadic with a effort there. Louis Jr. goes out to save that, even though it's nowhere near him, and they put it away for a stupid and they are checking for offside. Hopefully that was the case, because that feels very dodgy. It is a goal. There's some weird stuff going on in this game. The Lewis Dunk overhead kick turning into a Usain Bolt sprint, and now that Louis Jr., that's just weird from him. They are blaming our centre-backs quite heavily too. Maybe those own goals, we should have taken off the centre-backs off the back of that, but unfortunately just one centre-back option that is on the bench. Jacob Graves now on a 5.9. Hausner a 6.1 to be fair. Most of our defensive players going pretty poorly apart from Dest, so maybe those own goals are impacting things in this game, but we are now on the attack with a few minutes left. Iliev tries to get his head on the end of that one. Now Dest is back on the ball, does quite well to keep it. Will he try and take on the shot or square? He plays that back to Buckley. Now Farias goes all the way back here to Graves on that poor rating, which does seem a little bit harsh. But now Son with a shot from outside the box, but of course Verbruggen, he will come up with a save, because of course Louis Jr. not having the best day, it's fair to say, down the other end, despite the fact he's on a 6.7, but now Springett with a corner, looks for Som at the far post. We do get the header off, but unfortunately Verbruggen does make a save. Interesting option there to roll that one out to Webster, but Brighton, they do make their way out from the back. That's that highlight done as we make our way into 7 minutes of added time. Another corner here in our favour as we have gone a bit more attacking. Pizzalo puts that one into the mixer. Bit of aerial ping pong, but unfortunately it eventually finds its way to Verbruggen, who's doing a bit better than Louis Jr., it is fair to say. And we are unfortunately still down by 3 goals. That scoreline does feel a little bit harsh based on the highlights that we've seen. Also the fact we've scored 2 own goals, and that weird last one with the effort from Louis Jr. This does feel like a little bit of a screwy game, but thankfully we've got some credit on the board in terms of the points we've already picked up this season. But now we're on the attack. Tony Springett squeeze that one for Pizzalo. Take that, Brereton Diaz. Our Chilean's better than yours, Brighton. I think the goal will stand because he's sprinting back to halfway with the ball. So thankfully, the goal differential won't be too bad from this game. I think that might mean that goal that we do stay in second on the Premier League table, but unfortunately, it is going to be our first loss of the season in a rather weird game. It has to be said. Pizzalo puts that one past Verbruggen. Well, I suppose quite a good sub there coming on for the Waine Train, albeit Iliev has only been okay as well, albeit did score that goal off the back of that early interception from Sarawi. But unfortunately, that's full time. That felt like a really weird game with 2 own goals in the first half. Thankfully, came back from those and hit it 2 all early in the second half. But then, with around about 15 minutes left, in the space of 10 minutes, Brighton, Talisca with a double, and that weird goal from the free kick to Estupina. Not too sure there what the game was doing to Louis Jr. to make him just dive on the ground after that one did hit the post. But unfortunately, 2 own goals and that funny free kick goal, they do prove costly. Otherwise, we could have got something out of that game. Not that we deserve to, because stats-wise, Brighton did outplay us, but it's a 5-3 defeat there. The most goals that we've shipped for a long time at Plymouth Argyle. We'll just get through this post-match interview. I think we've got to say that we played quite poorly in that game, because we did. But there was some weird stuff that happened in that game. Obviously, as I said earlier, might have been some payback for those 2 own goals that went our way in the Fulham game. But thankfully, that late goal does mean we do stay in second on the Premier League table. But unfortunately, no longer undefeated off the back of a 5-3 defeat at Brighton. So unfortunately, our unbeaten run here at Plymouth Argyle comes to an end off the back of that international break. So Gino Dest actually a pretty good debut. I think he picked up 1 assist at the very least in that second half for that goal, which Bischoff scored, which did get us back into that game. But those 2 own goals in the first half probably should have looked to take off those centre-backs at halftime, but unfortunately just had one option on the bench, and Lewis Gibson, who these days is 4th choice. That injury to Reece Williams might have a bit more of an impact than I was hoping. But a bit of weird stuff happening in that game, I think it's fair to say, alongside that and some alien-like stadiums of late. Not sure what's going on since the most recent update on Football Manager. Hopefully a new update might be coming out soon, but unfortunately our first defeat of the season. Hopefully we can turn things around when we come back for tomorrow's episode, which will include a big top of the table clash when we do take on Liverpool. But that will do it for today's episode. 2 games win over Chelsea, that lost to Brighton, and also we signed Serginho Dest on transfer deadline day. If you enjoyed the episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. As I said earlier, a little bit busy tomorrow in real life, so because of that I think we're not going to go too far off the back of today's episode. And to be fair, we do take on some big teams in these next couple of games, so I think it's only fair to come back and try and bounce back as we take on Liverpool back at Ashton Gate. Of course, last season we beat them 6-1 when we took them on at home park, and off the back of that I'll see if we play Leicester City in the EFL Cup or Aston Villa in the Premier League. To be fair, Aston Villa, early days, not doing as well in the Premier as they were last season. Maybe that cup game might be more interesting to see if we can get on a run. But we'll come back tomorrow, take on Liverpool and one of Leicester or Aston Villa. So until then, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.